that the mother of Jesus, Mary, is the same as Maryam, the sister of Moses and Aaron from 1400 years earlier. That Mary gave birth to Jesus under a palm tree, while the Gospels are totally ignorant of such an event. That Jesus did not die on the cross, thus denying his resurrection and thereby, with a single sentence, completely destroying the very foundation of Christianity. That Abraham, Jacob, Ishmael, Isaac, Moses, the Israelites, Jesus, Mary, and the apostles, all of whom incidentally are Hebrews, Israelites, or Jews, were all Muslims, meaning believers in the one and only God, yet the followers of Muhammad have falsely arrogated this title only to themselves so that they can discriminate, humiliate, and subjugate the people of the book. That the Quran states that the Jews, who have been and are the most ardent monotheists, allegedly believe that the Uzair is the son of God, thus making them kafara and unbelievers, when it is impossible for anyone to substantiate such an obscene lie. That the Quran was a book revealed to Muhammad when all the records of Muhammadan Islam prove this is to be a falsehood, since the Quran was compiled into book form only after Muhammad was dead. That Muhammadan Islam is a religion, when in fact it is the cult of Muhammad, since his followers must emulate his sunnah. That Muhammadan Muslims have various beliefs and traditions, when in reality they are entirely based upon perverted, contorted, and twisted historical and religious events, as shown in our series. That jihad is a spiritual struggle, when all the verses of the Quran and hadiths clearly depict it otherwise. The ultimate goal of all male followers of Muhammad is to die fighting all unbelievers fi sabilillah, that is, for the sake of Allah. It is actually considered the sixth pillar of Muhammadan Islam. And in the ultimate of circular logic of Muhammadan Islam, it is Allah in His infinite wisdom and compassion who has predestined certain believers to righteously massacre and slaughter all unbelievers, whom Allah also predestined as such in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, it is common knowledge that the Almighty, by whatever name we may give Him, must be all-knowing, that is, omniscient, as well as infallible, merciful, and compassionate. Blasphemously, the Quran proves that Allah, if Allah were God, is otherwise uncertain, vacillating, fallible, merciless, immoral, and unjust. There are hundreds more of such differences and inconsistencies between the Quran and the Bible. As far as we know, based upon all the above information, we have very limited choices in trying to understand how this is possible. How the divine, who allegedly revealed the Quran, can be so wrong and so full of hate. You, our listeners, have the freedom to make up your own mind and conclusions. We, nonetheless, would like to share our own conclusions with you. In our opinion, we believe that the answer is very simple. Since it is illogical to accept that any omniscient, merciful, and compassionate God would have revealed all the discrepancies, hate-mongering, war-mongering, discrimination, racism, hypocrisy, grammatical errors, as well as the historical and character dislocations, mendacities, abnormalities, inconsistencies, time and space displacements that permeate the verses and chapters of the Quran, then only one conclusion can be possible. That every letter, every word, every verse, ayah, and every chapter, surah in the Quran are the product of Muhammad's personal thoughts and imaginings, his own hatreds, anger, lust, jealousy, fears, envy, and incomprehension. They are totally the secretions of his mind based upon his distorted recollections of stories and tales he had heard in earlier times from Jewish and Christian individuals. In summation, they actually represent his own alter ego, cleverly projected into the unsuspecting mouth of Allah, the supreme pagan rock god of Mecca, embedded into the corner wall of the Kaaba, called the Black Stone. The major players in the Quran, Muhammad, Allah, Gabriel, and Satan, are actually one and the same. They are all Muhammad himself, while Allah, Gabriel, and Satan are mere props required to give his alleged revelation sanctity and divine authority. After 13 years of preaching to his own tribe and relatives among his pagan Arab audience, consisting mostly of illiterate, superstitious, unlearned, and gullible people, even so, less than 100 of them swallowed Muhammad's claims and posturing for prophethood. Muhammad was not able to convince even most of his own kith and kin of his claims as the messenger of Allah, let alone the more educated, Judaized and Christianized Arabians who knew that every ethical, judicial and moral precept, concept, thought or idea in the Quran had been plagiarized, plundered, pirated and or perverted from their Bible and scriptures. In the end, he had to use terror, bribery and slaughter to bring them all under his control and force them to submit to him. There is, in the final analysis, absolutely nothing divine about the Quran. And any follower of Muhammad, anywhere on this planet, who would attempt to challenge these statements and conclusions based entirely on the Muhammadan records themselves, will have the same probability of success as finding a snowflake in Muhammad's inferno.